It's easy, to think of war in terms of battles, strategies, and weapons. But for millions of soldiers in World War II, survival often came down to something far more basic. Staying warm at night. Men on the Eastern Front faced temperatures that dropped far below freezing. In the Ardennes, during the Battle of the Bulge, frostbite casualties rivaled those from enemy fire. Out on the vast steppes of Russia, German and Soviet soldiers learned that a rifle might protect them from a bullet. But without heat, their bodies simply couldn't last through the night. And so, out of necessity and, desperation, they built stoves, makeshift heaters crafted from whatever metal, wood, or fuel they could find. These crude inventions, hidden away in foxholes and trenches, became lifelines. They weren't just about warmth. They were about survival, morale, and endurance in conditions that could kill a man in just a few hours. Soldiers quickly realized that warmth was as vital as ammunition. Military supplies were stretched thin during campaigns that lasted for months in bitter weather. Official rations, rarely included fuel or heating equipment, leaving soldiers to improvise as best they could. On the Eastern Front, some units received small field stoves, but honestly, most did not. A soldier who wanted warmth often had to dig into his own ingenuity. Tin cans, oil drums, even spent artillery shells became the raw materials for improvised trench stoves. A can with holes punched into it could hold coals. A cut-down barrel could be fitted with a makeshift chimney and buried half underground so the glow wouldn't give away a position. Every soldier quickly understood that without warmth, fingers stiffened, weapons jammed from frost, and frostbite turned comrades into casualties without a single shot being fired. Trench stoves were built from the barest scraps of war. The most common improvised heater was the trench stove, sometimes nothing more than a metal box with a hole for air at the bottom and an exit pipe for smoke at the top. Soldiers fed them with sticks, straw or splintered boards scavenged from ruined villages. In areas with no wood, they'd burn anything combustible, rags soaked in fuel, dried dung, even scraps of food packaging. The trick was to keep the fire controlled enough to produce steady heat without too much smoke. A plume of smoke could draw artillery fire instantly, so many men dug channels underground, venting heat through narrow pipes several yards away. Others used damp earth to smother flames and make the burn slower, more like smoldering coals than an open fire. In the frozen trenches of Leningrad, a stove built from an ammunition box with a thin steel pipe leading out through the parapet could mean the difference between sleep and a night of shivering misery. Cold injuries became so severe in World War II that armies began studying improvised heating methods as carefully as they did weapons. Frostbite cut entire divisions. During the winter of 1941-42, the German army suffered hundreds of thousands of cold casualties on the Eastern Front. Some units reported more men lost to frostbite than to Soviet bullets. Soldiers responded by building tiny heating pits beneath their dugouts. A small fire covered with a stone or sheet of metal radiated just enough warmth into the shelter above. Others lined the insides of dugouts with mud and straw to trap heat from these makeshift heaters. Every adaptation had to balance two risks. Too much fire meant danger from smoke inhalation or enemy detection, but too little meant death from exposure. The ingenuity of World War II trench stoves still carries lessons for survivalists and outdoorsmen today. A modern camper lost in the cold with no proper gear could actually replicate these methods on a smaller scale. A metal container, even just a food can become a heater by cutting holes near the base for airflow and placing small sticks inside. Placing a flat stone or metal plate over the top allows cooking while preventing sparks from flying. And just as soldiers use chimneys and underground vents, a camper can direct smoke away by angling a pipe or digging a small trench to carry it off. In survival conditions where concealment matters, such as evading detection or simply not drawing wild animals, this low smoke principle is honestly invaluable. Another crucial lesson is that a stove is not only about fire. It is about conserving heat. World War II soldiers often heated stones near their trench stoves, then wrapped them in cloth to act as radiant heaters inside their coats or sleeping areas. This technique, still effective today, requires little more than fire and rock. A dugout sealed with earth and straw retained warmth far better than an open tent. In modern survival practice, pairing a small improvised stove with an insulated shelter multiplies effectiveness, allowing less fuel to go further, just as it did on the frozen front lines. What stands out most about these wartime stoves is that they were not just practical tools, but morale builders. In the dark of a winter night, when shells had stopped and silence pressed down, the glow of a hidden stove meant a soldier could warm his hands, heat a tin of food, and feel human again for a moment. In that sense, they were as vital as rifles. They kept men fighting not just against the enemy, but against nature itself. The story of World War II trench stoves is more than a tale of soldiers in history. It is a lesson in human resourcefulness under extreme conditions. It shows that survival often comes not from advanced technology, but from simple adaptation using whatever is at hand. For history enthusiasts, these stories deepen our understanding of the realities of war beyond the battlefield. For survivalists, they provide practical knowledge that can still be applied when modern comforts fail. So, if you value the hidden lessons of history and the endurance of those who lived through it, make sure to subscribe to In the Beginning and share this video with others who share the passion for true survival knowledge. History has much to teach us, and together we keep these lessons alive.